it's not all about following rules, right? It's about sometimes using a little creativity to solve problems.
Going back to my original thing, I just like to be outside. I like to be looking at things. I like to be studying them. And these are all pictures that are right around Tucson. This is where most of my field stuff is. This is all right around Tucson. Yep. This is, two of these are in the Santa Ritas, and then one of them is down by Punta Blanca. So one of them is collecting agave stalks to feed these moths. One of them is measuring leaves and studying leaves out.
What do you guys picture when you think of a scientist? Lab coat?
Those bottles, like those weird cheap bottles.
Yeah, flasks. Yeah. Those weird shaped bottles, as she said. What else? A nerd. Einstein. Like Einstein, like totally crazy and eccentric. Yeah.
I see someone that like can put the periodic table and like say the whole periodic table in under like 2 seconds. Like a nerd, like a geek.
Wow.
Like those old math
I don't know anybody that can do that. Like what?
Those old math things.
Oh, an abacus. Where you
Yeah.
push the little beads to do the calculations.
It's an
Yeah.
abacus.
It's an old thing they used to do math where they push beads on the.
Is it confusing?
I don't know how to use it. I don't know. Yeah. So everybody kind of has these, and I think a lot of people, like the first thing they think of is like the mad scientist, sitting over a bunch of chemicals, mixing chemicals and seeing what happens and stuff like that. And it's really not like that so much. Most of the people most of the scientists that I know are like kind of normal people for the most part. We're a little bit weird, but for the most part we're all pretty normal. Like the lab coat is the exception for me. I wear a lab coat when I'm working with like a dangerous chemical or something, but 99% of the time I go into work in shorts and a t-shirt, that's just what I do. That's just what most graduate students do. And you guys have this picture, but until you really like get in the lab and actually work on stuff, you don't ever quite really know what it's like. There's a picture of a typical like university lab up here on the right, and I think you guys see like on CSI or something like that. You see these quote unquote labs, and they don't make any sense to a real scientist because for one thing they're always dark. Have you guys noticed that? They have the lights turned off. Like that makes no sense because you can't see what you're doing. So I've never seen a lab where they have the lights off. That's just ridiculous. And they have like on CSI they've got all this fancy equipment and these like shiny lights and like all this stuff, and the shelves are all lit up, to light up the glassware, and it's really not like that at all. It's really a lot like probably what you see in school with these lab benches and maybe shelves with glassware and stuff. You can see on this picture, it's just tables, here's somebody's notebook, there's a newspaper that somebody was reading, some glassware up on the shelves, stuff like that. There's really nothing like glamorous or scary or mystical about a lab. It's about like any other place where you would work. There's computers and tables for you to work at, stuff like that. There's coffee pots, and sometimes there's couches and labs.
Do you guys have
Sometimes
fish
there's
tanks?
what?
Do you guys have fish tanks?
We don't, but sometimes you see stuff like fish tanks and weird decorations, and it's really not like what you guys probably would think of as a lab. But what is research really like? It's a lot of reading and writing. So I have to read papers all the time because I want to stay on top of my field. I want to know what everybody else is doing because it might impact what I'm doing. I have to write a lot because I want people to know what I'm doing, in case it's important to them. It's a lot of waiting. It's a ton of waiting. There's so many times where I'll start an experiment, first thing in the morning, and I'll have to wait until, the middle of the afternoon before anything actually happens and I can move on to the next